Joining us live is Colonel Rich Outzen, who is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and the Jamestown Foundation. From 2016 to 2021, Colonel Outzen served in the U.S. Department of State as both a military and civilian advisor, working in the Policy Planning Office. Thank you for being with us, Colonel. Now, is it ironic that Russia is using military equipment manufactured by Western allies? How effective are the sanctions on Russia when it can use weaponry that has Western components?
Well, it's good to be with you, Allison. I wouldn't use the word ironic only because in a globalized marketplace, everybody buys from everybody, and the use of sanctions can constrain but not eliminate such sales. This is not the first time that it's been alleged, or actually documented in this case, that Western components have found their way into Russian weapons. Their Orlan unmanned aerial vehicles, for instance, have been shown to have Canadian parts, Austrian parts, and even American parts and chips and things like that. The U.S. tries to limit the flow through the sanctions, but it's not an airtight seal. It's more like a net with some holes in it. So I wouldn't say it's ironic. It is interesting to me that in the video that was shown, we see that this is actually older equipment. It has some scuffing. This is not like a new purchase. So the thinking is that these machines were either bought by a third country and then transferred to Russia, or bought through intermediaries with the claim that they were for civilian purposes. So it's interesting that Russia can't buy or produce these things directly or produce them themselves. So they have to rely on some cheating and some end arounds, so to speak, in order to get these parts for critical weapon systems.
Right. And Colonel, what advantage does Russia have with weapons like these?
Well, these are better. For instance, these Lancet drones are better than the stuff they get from the Iranians. And that's why they use their Iranian Shahed kamikaze or loitering munition type UAVs against, say, energy grids and civilian buildings. These Lancets, they do tend to use against high value targets like enemy air defense and artillery and things like that. Now, I wouldn't say it's a huge advantage because the West and even Ukraine have more capable systems like the Storm Shadow long-range missile that's used by Ukrainians to great effect. Ukraine has used its own UAVs that it produces against Russian shipping in the last couple of days. But the use of the Lancet does make the Ukrainians' work more difficult. It certainly evens some things out. In the early stages of the war, you remember, Ukraine had dominance through the use of UAVs such as the Turkish Bayraktar, and the Russians really had no answer. Now, with the Lancet that they are producing more of, they have something of an answer. This has been an equalizer, and certainly the Russians have benefited.
Colonel, thank you very much for that valuable insight and information there.
Thank you, Allison.